This computer. All right. My name is Patrick. I'm one of the pastors at Chapelgate, and tonight we are on with Rachel and Aaron Halbert, MTW missionaries in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, and church planting partners of ours. And we are on the phone with them as they are locked in their house with how many children do you guys have now?
5.
Yeah, we have
5 children. All right. So tell me, how are you guys doing? What's life like right now?
Yeah, we're doing well. It's never fun to be locked behind walls, especially as a lot of times for us as Americans or North Americans, we have this tendency of, you can't take my freedoms, right? And the one freedom you can't take from me is tell me I can't go out of my house. And so that's been hard, but a good season of reflecting on Romans 13, the fact that the Lord has given us authorities to submit to. This is where we find ourselves, and we're thankful for that, right? So we're doing well, trying to be faithful as we work and serve and church plant here in Tegus, and do that from a distance. You couldn't dream of this situation. I don't think anybody could dream of this situation. So, yeah, so that's where we are. We're in it and just trying to figure it out as we go. So that's where we are.
Well, you guys had one thing to celebrate. You had your co-pastor Josue got ordained and in the States, right? And then now is he officially installed? Have you been able to you haven't been able to have the installation service, I guess, right?
No. So the plan was April 26th. We had a whole group of folks coming down. The folks from the North Coast here in Honduras were coming. Then the Mississippi Valley, the States were coming down, and we're going to build a thing. And then that obviously hit a hiccup. We have a couple of different guys on that commission that fit the bill. One of them being Rachel's dad is one of the elders, and he's in his 70s, has been a lifetime smoker, has diabetes, has underlying heart issues. And it was one of those like, well, maybe we shouldn't put him on a plane, right? And so, so that being said, we made the call. We'll just back it up until, right? And that's kind of the same story for everybody, right? So we're no different than anybody else anywhere in the world, having to put things on pause and just recognize our dependence upon the Lord in that reality. And so he did finish the whole process, passed his exams really well, super excited about that. That helps us move towards having one particularized church in Honduras. And then the goal is to particularize 2 more in the coming years. And then we'll have our own denomination. So that's our goal, and moving towards that. We have an intern prospect here in the country that we're hoping, the goal was to have him come in April as well and do an interview and hopefully serve with the church. But again, everything's just on pause. And so that's an exciting reality, a very exciting reality, but also kind of a disappointing, grieving the reality of like, oh, well, we have to wait on these things. So, yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. So Rachel, how are you doing?
I have my days. I think that one of the biggest stressors right now is the kids' schooling. So we have 2 different schools, with the triplets being in like a little preschool type thing, and then Ford and Catherine in kindergarten, 1st grade. And so Ford and Catherine have virtual classes, things that they have to do every single day and turn in French and Spanish.
I thought it was a French school, right? Where they were having to learn bilingual.
Right. So it's stretching me for sure in that way. And then just trying to keep up with the triplets and, encouraging them to do some sort of academic, letters and numbers and things like that. But mainly just trying to keep up with the emotional stability of a family of 7 that's been locked in like this. So there's a lot of asking for forgiveness and repentance and prayers for grace and patience. So, we're doing okay.
Well, I wish I could have everybody raise their hand, because I would say I've been there, right? Because we don't have in our house, we're in a townhouse, and we have 2 sides of windows. And I know there, every house has huge walls because of the way they wanted to protect the city from a lot of the violence, right? And like wanting to create these almost sort of like sentinel buildings where you can't see over the walls because they're like 12 feet, and so you really do kind of feel like you're, having been to your house, you do kind of feel like you're in your own little like ecosystem a little bit. Has that been more acute, I guess?
A little bit. I think anything is that we have kind of survived that aspect of it is just inviting a lot of people in.
Yeah.
We can't do that now. So I think that's the most challenging part, is that our kids are missing having people in. We're missing having people in, that sense of fellowship that, we may live behind giant walls, but we do what we can to break down those walls as possible. But right now we're kind of forced not to.
Yeah. How are folks in the church coping with it? Like, how are they, like, just like your members, like, because you guys fellowship a lot and do all that?
I mean, I think if people are struggling personally with, different things, I think the same thing that goes on in the States, same thing goes on here. People are watching a lot of news and reading a lot of Facebook and having a lot of anxiety, right? You see the numbers go up, and y'all are close to New York, and New York's not very, Philadelphia between you, but the numbers, and you can get into a world where you don't ever put that down. And so trying to pastor people through that and encourage them to turn things off and be present and recognize that if they don't know the latest news, it's okay. And so that's hard. It's also been hard because, you have some people that are really nervous. And so we've tried to take groceries to some folks and been turned down for hospitality because people are nervous about, what the groceries might bring with them. And so that's a little hard because you're trying to figure out creative ways to love your neighbor. And so I think that's part of it. But I think there's a lot I've learned from our brothers and sisters here about submission to authority. There was a coup here in 2009, and that really locked down the country in a lot of ways. Oh, look at Steve's background. How do we do that? And so they are more willing to say, listen, the government told us to stay in the house, and we need to obey that. And I've been learning a lot about that and just the willingness to submit in those ways to authority. And so, I think our people have done that really well, and actually been really encouraging how much they've shown up to all the things we've done online, right? Really excited. They're at our worship service on Sunday mornings. They're coming to our Bible study on Sunday nights. Josue did a thing on fasting on Monday and Tuesday, just kind of teaching because of the Pentecostal background here. And just some people tend towards believing that you can pray down the fire of gifts through fasting. And so he was trying to give a better understanding, more well-rounded understanding of the gifts and also what fasting is for. And so that was good for our people. And then we'll have prayer meeting tomorrow night and just keep pressing along. So it sounds like, except for us physically getting together, things have continued to go on.
Yeah, right.
But it's not social distancing, it's physical distancing, right? In reality, but it still hurts, right? It still is a hard reality. When I was telling Rachel and I've talked about it a lot, but we've sold out on the idea of hospitality.
Yeah.
The more we can be together, the more we can spend time together, the better. And so when that gets taken away, you have to revamp and figure things out. So I think the people in the church are doing well across the board. More text messages have come in. Just today, we have a family that lives a little bit outside of town, and this is dry season in Texas. And during dry season, we have a lot of fires all around the city. And we have a family that lives out about 10 kilometers out, and there's a fire going on around their house. And because none of the bomberos, which are firemen, are really working that much, they're a little nervous about that, it's approaching their house. So that's overwhelming. You've got multiple people that live on mountains that could happen to. So you add in the threat of not being able to leave your house, the threat of not being able to get food, and then the threat of fires cutting you off from the city. And it can create a lot of anxiety, right? And so, yeah, it can be overwhelming. And you're locked in your house, right? And there's no sense of other people speaking into that.
We're not supposed to be leaving. So even if it's Aaron's day to go shopping, according to his ID number, he can leave on Wednesdays. I can't be in the car with him. Even if I sit in the car with him and I don't go in, I'm not authorized. So if it's not your day, you're not supposed to be driving around town.
Now, it's not, I was out today. It's not like there's militarized police everywhere, like cracking down. But if you leave kind of, if you can remember where y'all stayed, much outside of the window from where you stayed to the places you worked, you'll get stopped 2 or 3 times by checkpoints to make sure, hey, where are you going? What are you doing? Why are you coming out here? Because they're really trying to keep people shopping and staying in their areas, right? So not moving about the city randomly. And so those are some of the things, like they'll ask where you live and you say over here, and you have to tell them kind of where you're going. And that they're letting, like, if we go to take food to somebody and I tell them I'm on my way to take food to this family, they're fine with that. They're happy to let us through, but they're also pretty strict. Hey,
this is my youngest Emily.
Hey, Emily.
So, hey, what is the situation there with the coronavirus? Like, what is the, how, I haven't read anything about Honduras in particular, but, we went to the hospitals there and we have a picture of kind of what that looks like. What's the situation there?
Yeah, so as of today, I think it hit 141 cases here in Honduras, and the 10th person died of coronavirus today.
Okay.
The major issues are exactly what you mentioned on your first trip down here. Like when we were walking through the cities, there's no network to take care of people, right? And so there's a lot of homeless, there's a lot of street children, there's a lot of disabled that aren't being taken care of, and they're out in the streets. And so there's not the medical problem is that if all collapses, if everything goes bad, if we get Italy and Honduras, a majority of the population is in a situation that we couldn't combat it, right? And so that's why it's been drastic to the point of keep it shut down as much as possible. And so that's what they're most nervous about. It hasn't taken off, but it just like in the States, right, where those are the cases we've tested and we've found, right? It's the same thing here, right? How many people have it and we don't know who has it. And so that's a little bit of what's kind of the hardest part about the medical system here and what most people are scared of. The medical system would collapse, right? It will. It was collapsing before coronavirus. So the public health care, because we have public health care. But even like we went home to have the triplets by recommendation of the doctor, because the doctor told us, listen, at our private hospital, which is the nicest private hospital probably in Tegus for sure, maybe in the country, he was like, we have 2 ventilators. And so when we were having the triplets, he was like, I'm not picking a baby, right? I'm not saying this one doesn't make it if all 3 need it. So that gives you a perspective of, even for the wealthy, there's not, and we've got ventilators that are apparently on the way and have been on the way, but still, I think we had 140 something come in the last week or so, but 140 in a population of 9 million that's poverty stricken. So that's a little bit of what we're facing, and why you're willing to sit at home and say, we're going to watch a lot of Netflix and read a lot of books and spend a lot of time praying and reading, hanging out with kids and making games up, and for the purpose of, it could be us that spreads it, right? And not just other people, right? It could be us too.
Yeah.
So
That's right. Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's a sobering picture, to say the least, there, for that. Do you get a sense that the government, or even just like does MTW giving you guys any like direct like advice or directives or anything? Are they like actively engaged with you all in this, I'm assuming?
yeah, they are. They're sending us emails. They want to be very free about like what not to tell us we have to come home, right?
Right.
For some folks, like coming home, Tennessee hasn't figured out how to control this yet. So, and neither have other places in the U.S. or other parts of the world. So coming home doesn't really solve the problem.
Right. Right.
And so, sorry, we've got kids in the background.
In there.
And so MTW's just tried to tell us, listen, y'all got to do what's best for your family, and gave us the go ahead if we wanted to fly back to the States, if we thought that would be better. And then just to continue to give us updates about medical things to be paying attention to. Obviously, yeah, just being mindful of as things go longer in a third world country, and people don't have money to buy food, petty theft and things like that are probably going to go up, and we're going to have more issues, right? And so just being mindful. We got a letter today from MTW, just an email, just encouraging us to be aware of the situation and in contact with the U.S. Embassy. So yeah, MTW is walking alongside this with us, trying to be as informative as possible. But 3 weeks ago, we sat down with everybody in Central and South America and had a full conversation about, listen, if you think you need to go back to the States, you're free to do it. Nobody is going to be angry or frustrated or judge that decision, if that's where your family. But at the same time, kind of one of the things we talked about before coming, I saw you talking to the Iversons, and they're desperate. They want to get back to Japan.
That's their home, right?
It's home for us. So there's this sense like this. It would seem weird to just leave, right? Now there are things that weigh on you, like we saw something today. Somebody took a picture of the last flight leaving. Today was the last flight that American flights are flying out. Anybody out of Honduras.
Wow.
Until May 1st. And that we know. Yeah. And so my brother was here last week, 2 weeks ago.
Because he's coming to work with you, is that right?
The plan is yes.
Okay. Is that on the down low? That's okay. Okay.
That's out there. And so they came down and just because their tickets got canceled, they were in contact with the embassy, and the embassy, in essence, last week did all they could to get. I think there were 5,500 expats and missionaries that they helped get out of the country. And it was kind of one of these like last ditch. We're gonna get everybody out, and then once the flights are done, the week after that, we're done, right? So it's a shelter in place. You're there. So there's that. It's that idea of freedom again, like with the walls. Like now we're here, right? But it doesn't feel that much different because you've made a home here. Your friends are here. Your life is here. The people you love are here. Now I've got people I love in the States. My wife has people she loves in the States, but you've made this home, right? And so that's just part of it. And can be mental. The games can be hard on you, right? It's just, So just remembering to preach truth to yourself and preach the gospel to your own heart and mind daily. Doesn't fix all the problems. You still struggle with doubt and unbelief and battle and with your own sin.
I mean, we want you to know we haven't forgotten, you all, and we know that you guys are kind of on the front lines, and you're putting your family in a place that of vulnerability, but also strength in that vulnerability. So like we just want to kind of surround you guys and pray for you and support you and encourage you all. And, because truthfully, I mean, like we're in our houses, right? But generally that's our most comfortable place, and, I know that that's your home or whatever, but it's hard to be away from family. It's hard to be away from people that you love and care about. And that's always going to be there. And so I hope that, we can encourage you guys today. And so I want to if you guys have questions, I got a couple that I'm going to run through here. The rest of you who are on this call, go ahead and type those in and feel free to ask them. Or even if you want to say an encouraging thing, just feel free to chime in. But I do want to ask, because we were talking a little bit about the hospital, and we worked with Casa David, this past summer, and that's a pretty important ministry. How is all of this like impacting them and that ministry? Do you have any sense? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I was actually talking to Josue about some of that, and the reality is that, I mean, they still have to offer something,
right?
And at the same time, it's a very intimate ministry in the sense that you're giving beds away, and people are sleeping in close quarters. And how do they still serve the community of people that are coming? And I mean, they're doing same thing that everybody else is doing all the same precautionary things, trying their best to be mindful.
Yeah. So let me just, by way of information, Casa David is the ministry for folks that don't have a place to stay, that are family members of folks that are in the hospital. So it's like kind of like a Ronald McDonald House sort of model that is there in Tegus for one of the hospitals and we got to interact with some of the clients whose family members were in the hospital, or they themselves were getting treatment, but they didn't need to stay at the hospital for that. So
that the house offers housing for people and food for people who can't afford to get housing around. And when we say can't afford housing, we're talking about a hotel costs about $12 to $16 a night, and that hotel won't have usually electricity or running water. And so they offer a place for about $2 a night, and you get 2 meals, and you get the gospel each night. But you stay in a room with 6, 8, sometimes as many as 14 other people. And so in a Corona situation, that can create difficulties, right? And you've got to be mindful and paying attention. And you also have staff that you've got to take care of, and volunteers that are coming in to bring food. And so, yeah, it creates a bunch of tricky situations. And you can do your best. It's kind of the same feeling I feel like as when you go to the grocery store here and you are getting gel and they are spraying your shoes and they are doing all these things, and you're like, but if there's coronavirus on the apple that I pick up, there's not really much. Does it make sense? It makes you go, it's just one little thing in the particle in the air. And it reminds you of your finitude, right? And the fact that you're finite and God is infinite, and we can't see these things, and yet the Lord is sovereign over it and is faithful to do his holy will in it. And those are hard realities, but also truthful, comforting realities. And so, yeah, Casa David is trying to do its best to serve its people, but also because travel has been completely shut down. And as y'all met, so many people were coming from long distances, right, to stay in those hotels. So in the hostel type staying at Casa David, people, can't travel. So there are certain things that you can't do. And some people can come for medical treatments, but not all are able to travel through the country. And so that creates, buses aren't running. Not everybody has access to private transportation to get you to the hospital. So that's really limited who can get helped as well. So they're still serving a lot of people, but within the confines of that could get here by finding some transportation. So yeah, when I go out, there's nobody on the roads, and there's not very much traffic. There's no buses, there's no taxis. So nobody's out, right? And so that's a different situation. And that adds to the stress for everybody, and for Casa David, and for the people that they would be serving, which is a poor group of people.
Here's a picture of Casa David. I'm just gonna share this real quick. There we go. That's the guard we worked at, just for reference. Yeah.
So that's what's going on. And then another ministry we support and try to stay involved with is called the Mica Project. The Mica Project serves street kids, and they've been able to get they've been here for a long time and have a lot of access to getting goods, and they've been able to get to the streets to be able to get food to people, to homeless kids. And then they've been able to serve their neighborhood pretty well. And so, but I mean, the other problem is last week they'd had it. And when I was going out to take food to our maid that does the church's cleaning, I mean, I went through two groups of people that were riding and begging for money, and then they're putting tires in the street and lighting them on fire and doing all this stuff to slow you down so they could beg for money, right? They're not being aggressive towards you. They're not, I mean, so none of that, but they're desperate. And Mica Project is a ways outside of town. And so they're coming into the city to serve these kids and serve their community. And so that's, they've had a couple of situations like that, but thanking the Lord that the Lord is continuing to be kind through the government to allow ministries to work as best as possible, because the Honduran government wants as much help as they can get, which is good, right? And so, yeah, so you can pray for that. You can pray that ministries would still be able to uphold a lot of what they've been doing and continue to do. Ministries that we've come alongside would be able to continue what they're doing, because I think that's the piece. The Honduran government is dependent on a lot of foreign investment, and part of that foreign investment is even missionary investment, that they've opened the floodgates to ministries to come down here, NGOs to do work here, and that help bolster some of the responsibility the government should probably have, but ministries are taking that on. And so just access to foods and that kind of stuff. And so a lot of ministries are able to get rice and beans and some staples that people can get through, but those are only lasting, a week at most.
Right.
Or a few days. So, yeah.
And are you guys able to get the groceries you guys need?
Yeah. I mean, I was reading something today about what could happen if this goes on for another month. And those are the things that you just kind of say, listen, I can't let my
one day at a time. Yeah.
One day at a time. But yeah, today I shopped and I was able to get, everything that we needed down to the animal crackers, right? So, for the kids. So yes, there's access to that stuff. But again, it's that idea of where we live, and we have a private car, and I can get, we can't get money to our maid because the majority of Hondurans don't have bank accounts. Right. So I have to take out cash and get it to her. There's no way to deposit money to her, right? And help pay her. So then that's the majority of most underprivileged folks in Honduras. And they can't have a bank account. And so it just creates a situation. So like I can go to the bank, I can go to the grocery store and use my debit card, and I don't have to go to the bank and get cash and pay with cash. And so there's a lot there, right? A lot of levels that it's sometimes things that we don't think about.
Yeah.
And they weigh on us in ways that you just don't realize how easy, and I'm not saying y'all, I'm talking us.
Yeah. Right.
Easy, even as us living here as foreigners, just by having a bank account, you're ahead of the game, right? Just by having access to a car, you're ahead of the game. So that's a little bit tough.
Well, as I think about it, way we've been talking about is there's an opportunity here for the gospel to run. How are you guys seeing just opportunities, and have there been opportunities that maybe weren't there before because of this, or is it just sort of, how is it presented to you all there?
I feel like there's a lot of things that are stress and things that are heightened right now. So I do feel like we have a place to speak from a heart of peace and a heart of trust in the Lord for his sovereignty, that people are kind of reeling right now, trying to understand what's going on and how you process it. And I know I personally have had, a couple of opportunities to speak about the fact that it's not that the Lord's blessing us, and that I know for sure that just because I pray or just because I do these things and check off the list, I'm going to get my blessings from him. But I can trust him that even if, things do get worse, that he's still faithful. And I can trust him with my kids' lives and my life and our health and our safety, even if we were to get it. And so those are hard conversations, I feel like, we're having with our kids too, about it's not just keep us healthy. It's that the gospel would go forth, especially in this time where people are needy and they are looking for something. So
yeah, we had a lady say to Rachel, she was at our house and she was like, I'm just worried I'm going to get the coronavirus because I got bad accounts with God. And that just crushes you. Yeah. It just makes you think, wow, there's a false understanding of what the gospel is and what that means. And I think she was just willing to say what many people feel and have been fed through the prosperity gospel. And so there are lots of opportunities and to speak about the truth of the gospel and the need that David being in a cave chased by Saul probably didn't feel like the promise was coming true. It felt like everything was going wrong. And so when we look around and there's coronavirus and yet we hear God saying, I'm going to make all things new. I'm going to set it all straight. It can be hard. Well, this isn't what I thought, Lord. And so that opportunity to talk with her about that, and then with people in our church. I know we've talked a lot about people's historical and situations here. People have a lot of distrust, and they don't trust the government. They don't trust the medical system, and for right reasons. There's been a lot of reasons not to. And so there's a lot of misinformation, which creates more panic, and people panic sharing things and saying things are going on. And so just the ability to preach Psalm 121 and Psalm 46, and then preach about the serpent in Exodus and looking to the serpent while we're being bit by the thing and looking to Christ. Just trying to press us and our people and my own heart to comfort in Christ, right? That if we truly are believers, we can say with Paul, the worst thing that, it's better to be with Christ, right? But the worst thing that can happen is my body can be taken, and then I'm with the Lord, right? And so I think that has been something that gospel opportunities to press truths that maybe we all confess in new ways, right? That we've seen it in playing out in practice. I say this all the time, and then yet I have nights of panic and like, what happens if one of my kids gets coronavirus, and what happens if we can't get to the hospital, and what happens? And then you kind of say, well, I've got to play these truths out to my own heart. And so, yeah, there's been great opportunity. And I think a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, looking, people want good, faithful, gospel-centered preaching, right? And not that we're that incredible at it, but I think when people are coming in contact with something that is pointing to Jesus, I'm hoping that we're finding other hungry people pointing hungry people where to find food, right? And so that's why I mentioned earlier, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities. Josue and I have made contact with a lot of new people that we didn't know before this, who I think could just have questions, right? And that's good. We want people to come with questions. We're not asking you to come and have it all together and have figured out all the coronavirus situation and be able to parse it and talk to me about, God's decrees and all that kind of. No, we want people who are hurting and lonely and sad and processing to come and hear good news. Which is exactly what y'all want at Chapelgate, right? And that's what we want across the world. And so, yes, it's created gospel opportunities. But yeah, I would rather do that around my kitchen table with some food. That's my heart.
I'd rather do it around your kitchen table with some food too.
Yeah. So I'd much rather do it, together than separate. But yeah, so that's a little bit of the opportunities that are coming along and have come along, and just praying the Lord would continue to give us opportunity to speak into some lives.
Yeah.
That way.
How are your kids doing with all this? I mean, are they like some of the older, Catherine, maybe at the age, I know she's like right there. So,
Lauren has heard and has processed a little bit about the coronavirus. He calls it coronavirus.
Everything sounds cooler in Spanish. Everything.
He doesn't quite understand. He knows that people are getting sick, and we pray about it every day. And they kind of understand restaurants aren't open, schools aren't open, which is like
they've been asking for chicken nuggets from McDonald's for like 2.5 weeks, right? Because like Friday, I know that sounds terrible. Like of all the things that a kid would want, right? First of all,
no Chick-fil-A in Honduras.
Yeah, there's no
Chick-fil-A here.
But they just are like, can we go to McDonald's? But
I think that like for them, it's more of the distancing that's causing effect. The fact that we can't all get in the car and go somewhere because they can't be in the car at all right now. That's hard. That it's hard for them to not see friends. It's not hard for them to not go play somewhere besides their backyard or in the street. They don't quite understand everything that's going on. But I mean, I feel like they've handled the lockdown probably better than we have, just because they've taken it in stride.
We've just kind of answered those questions as they've had questions, right? So like today, I came home, and like normally if I've gone to the grocery store and I've been touching a bunch of stuff, I'll come home and I'll just switch my clothes out or whatever, just to be mindful of them. And somebody tried to give me a hug, and I was like, hey, I'm going to change clothes real quick. And Ford goes, it's because you got all the coronavirus on you. That's right. That's why, Daddy. And I was like, yeah, that's right. I got it all over me, bud. So he understands that part at some level, right? But they've done really well. I think social distancing has been hard on them too. But the glory of being part of a big family is you've got 4 other siblings to run around with and play with, and but also the sad part of being in a big family is you have 4 other siblings who are playing with the same toys and the same space and all that. So it's got its ups and downs, but they've done really well, and so been doing well. They're slowly but surely all coming around. Just one's right here on Rachel's lap laying down, and so
the longer we stay on this, the more comfortable they'll be, and by the end of it, you'll just be surrounded by a mountain.
Exactly. I'll be right here.
Right.
Like, what's up? So you guys are in the process of potentially purchasing your church building, right? And working on that, and we've sort of had a role in that. For those that don't know, just out there, we've given a grant for you guys to be able to purchase that. Can you just 2 seconds, like where you guys stand on that process? And obviously coronavirus has slowed everything down, but
that's obviously we still want to move that direction and have begun that process of asking about the lots next to us. We're trying to get a fair price on the land and on the property. The guy has continued to try and drive the price up on us, and the hardest part about that is he's a professing believer that has attended our Bible studies and that kind of stuff. And he's a good friend of Josue's, but continues to kind of want more money out of the property. And so we talked about while we were there, the properties next door. So we've gone to get to the owners of those to find out what they're asking so that we can get a better estimate of what the property should cost. But we're moving along, and we were in the dead heart of that process. Josue and Rudy, before we got locked down, the week before we got locked down, had been in meetings, because the other thing is I don't go to any of those meetings because, and it sounds terrible, but I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy from the U.S. that has an accent when he speaks Spanish, and the price goes up when I'm involved normally. And so Rudy and Josue have all those conversations, and they've been fantastic about leading that process for us, right? And so they were going and sitting down and meeting, and then we got locked down, and that's where we've been. I actually sent Aaron a message a couple weeks ago. He was asking about it, just letting him know that we just want to be wise and do this in the most prudent and financially responsible way as possible. We don't want to just say, oh yeah, let's do this. And yeah, we want to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves in the process. But again, we are at the point where we're about to be bursting at the seams. And so you start to be like, well, what do? We got to figure something out. So yeah,
we saw that you guys did like busted out the patio, and you got out in the grass now, I guess, or close to.
So there was a patio on the back, that a brick area that was an actual little patio that had glass windows. We knocked those glass windows out, moved the pulpit back, moved all the music back. It added about 35-ish seats, so we can get up to about 130 people in the church now. Before we have to do much, but I guess we've had some Sundays that were a little over 100, and then our conference last year we hit 110, 115, and so after this, with the added people that we're seeing, we have a feeling we're about to hit another spike in growth, and I'm in the midst of membership classes, so we should have about 80 members towards the end of coronavirus, when we can bring them into the do the vows at the church and all that kind of stuff. We might even do that online, see how that works. And so that's where we are. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to give the other participants here a chance to ask questions if they have any, or just, anything that we didn't touch on, or, go for it. You're gonna have to unmute yourself though, if you want to ask a question. Let's see. Oh, here's Kevin.
I can't believe it hasn't come up yet, but I mean, how's the toilet paper situation? No, I'm kidding. Actually,
but here's the other part is like, there's not a middle class in Honduras. So there's not a group of people that have enough finances to be able to hoard all the toilet paper, right? So there's not a people at that level that can go buy it all and go home, right? So, and they haven't even had to limit it. Like there hasn't been, we're not even like, walking in and being
hand
like
sanitizer, Clorox,
hand sanitizer and Clorox, yes. But other than that, toilet paper, you go in and you get it every time.
Dude, that is so true. That's so true, because I bought toilet paper here in the El Salvadorian market. It's the only place that had toilet paper. And they got lots of it. It's in Catonsville. If you need TP,
if you need some, all the rest of you now know where.
I know. In Catonsville, the El Salvadorian little market is next to Subway.
I'm writing that down.
95. You can get toilet paper for days in there.
I was thinking the Halberts could ship some to us.
Yeah, maybe so.
Get there in
Put some more coffee beans in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are the discussions with the other organizations in terms of raising additional money for the property or properties?
Yeah, we're in that and have gotten kind of the okay with them, as far as one's a church, and then another one is a foundation, and they've said we're completely on board. We just want to see the final numbers, right? And so once we see the final numbers, then let's move forward. So that's kind of where we are, and super excited about that, right?
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, we're moving along slowly but surely. I was emailing with the head of that foundation, I guess about 2 weeks ago, about that very reality. And so we're just continuing to press along, and yeah, those are exciting things. And it's also exciting, but at the same time, like the hardest part is you could get a yes, right, and get everything lined up, and we could, who knows when we get to move forward. Does it make sense? And so that's the already not yet, right, of all of this.
It's true. Good question.
What's Wyatt up to? Did he go? Is he still living with Josue, or did he go back home?
Wyatt finished his internship the week before Corona hit.
Wow.
And so he left, and the next week is when we got locked down. So,
Wow.
but I mean, come on, being locked down in Texas or being locked down in Honduras, it's about equal, right? So, so you know,
Hey, you have toilet paper, so
yeah,
I'm
that's
sure.
true. We're ahead of the game. But yeah, so he left the 4th. I think he was pretty bummed because he had a whole list of seminaries he was going to visit because he's going to finish college in the next year and a half, and all those visits got canceled. And so he was pretty sad about that. But he was able to get a job and he's able to do some work. And so, yeah, he's doing well. But he's back stateside.
How was that parting for you guys? That must have been real tough to say goodbye to him.
Yeah, 11 months is a long time. And Wyatt was a special guy in the sense, like, he spoke great Spanish. He loved our people well. And yeah, it's hard. There was multiple going away parties in a very good Latino fashion, right? Like, we did one on Sunday night, and then another one on Monday night, and another one on Tuesday night. And everybody was at the airport. And so, you know, it's just, there's a familial sense of things here that is really encouraging. And so I think who's taken it the hardest is Lucas, who's Josue's youngest kid, because they got super close. And so he called him O. And so he'll still go out to the window and go, oh, and just call for him. So it's a little hard for a 2-year-old to kind of understand what's happened. But yeah, he was a huge blessing to us. And then, yeah, hopefully one day he'll come back. So that's what we're hoping for, right? Post-seminary, if that happens.
Have you gotten a chance to talk to our friend that was going to come down this summer yet?
I haven't not talked to Laura Cameron yet
Okay.
on the phone.
I don't want to bring it up then. All right.
Yeah. So, but I can. I mean, I'm happy. She's been emailed and let know through MTW.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
MTW canceled all summer interns for everybody, right? So anybody who had an intern coming, nobody's getting interns this summer. Same thing as teams. We had a group of teams coming down. The North Coast had 5 teams coming down. We had 2 teams coming here, and all of those have been canceled. So just because of flights and nobody knows what's going to happen and all that kind of stuff, and safety reasons. So that has been nixed for everyone. So yeah, across the board.
Well, then next summer will be our turn to come back.
Exactly. So now what's going to happen is everybody's going to be slammed the next summer, right? It's going to be like 10 weeks for everybody.
So can we get our dates in with you right now?
Yeah. Let's do it. It's the truth. Because
Let's go.
Steve's live streaming from the Bahamas. He's already in his Honduran mode. He's living his best life.
In my hoodie.
Do you have a Corona there? Oh wait, no, never mind.
Too soon, Patrick. Too soon.
Too soon, Patrick. But yeah, I mean, the sooner the better, right? That we already know when GA is, right? It's the last week of June into July, so the very first week of July. So yeah, the sooner we talk about that, the better. Because I don't know what next summer is going to bring. I have a feeling both of those teams are going to want to come, and I've had a couple teams that I had kind of pushed to next year. Planning for y'all to come and then putting them in the rotation. And so, yeah, there could be it'd just be a fun summer, right?
Your brother is needed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Amen. So y'all can pray that he is able to raise his support as quickly as possible. They're transferring from a different organization. They've been in South Africa. He was running that team there for years. And I've been recruiting my brother for a long time to come to Honduras. He's everything that I'm not. And so super gifted. And so he's going to come and do short terms and do interns for us, and also work in a diaconal role for us and model that for our church. So that's what he's planning to come. He and his wife, they got 3 little kids. You can pray for them while they were here. So you pray for him. His wife had a miscarriage, and so while they were down here visiting with us, and so just a lot has happened. They moved from South Africa in January back to the States, and then came down to visit us, had a miscarriage. They've been approved with MTW to come. So we're heading down that road, but there's just a lot, and they've got to do some support raising. So you can pray for them in that process.
Yeah.
Because praying for them is also praying for us, right? Because them getting here helps in all of that. So, yeah.
Well, any other questions, guys, girls?
Man, I've talked so much. Which is normal.
Which is really odd for you. It's just surprising.
I've met you once, and you already know that, and they're making fun of me for it.
Rachel, is he working from home? And what's that like for you if he is working from home?
Well, I can say that on top of getting emails out and things like that, he's cleaned out 2 of our most cluttered areas of the house. So I'm not complaining.
Hey, that's cool.
Trying to be productive with the extra energy, right? But yeah, I also, I'm keeping Corona stocked, not the Corona you're talking about, but keeping Corona for her sanity, not for my sanity. So
I heard somebody say, it was a woman said, if my husband stays so much longer, it's not going to be the virus that kills him.
yes, that's right.
There you go.
So
There you go.
yeah,
No.
but it's been good. I mean, I feel like it's actually been good. We've had some very sweet times as a family. And
We
just,
don't get times like this very often.
yeah, where there's not a ton of interruption as far as like time to sit down and play games and be super interactive in a good way, right?
Yeah.
See areas that you've been failing in the past and going, wow, I should probably be paying more attention to this. But it's been good. The Lord's allowed that. So, yeah.
Well, how about we just have some time to pray. We'll pray for the church in Honduras, pray for you guys, pray for your kids, your family, and we're all in this together. This is, not only does Christ unite us across the world, but, now we actually have a shared experience that unites all the cultures around the world of just, unfortunately, this acute fallen virus situation that we're all dealing with. And so I think let's just pray for a couple minutes. I'm going to stop the recording here, but I'll